Things are heating up in the world of trade and politics. President Donald Trump is at it again, this time ramping up tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. He's not just reintroducing old trade restrictions. He's raising the stakes. Steel imports now face a steep 25% tariff, with aluminum also getting hit with extra taxes. But that's not all. Trump hinted at a new system. If another country imposes high tariffs on American goods, the U.S. will respond with equal measures. This announcement has sent shockwaves worldwide, especially in Europe and Canada, two major U.S. trade partners. With over $550 billion in annual trade, their response could impact industries across America. Then, Trump took things further, suggesting in a Fox News interview that Canada might be better off as the 51st U.S. state. He argued Canada loses $200 billion annually and doesn't pull its weight in defense spending. This unexpected comment left Canadians stunned and the trade tensions even higher. Trump stirred the pot again, questioning why the U.S. is protecting another country. His controversial comments didn't end there. During a pre-Super Bowl interview, he suggested Canada couldn't survive without U.S. economic support and military backing, proposing that Canada be absorbed into the U.S. as the 51st state. Unsurprisingly, Canada's leaders were furious. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau quickly called the idea an insult to their long-standing relationship. Politicians across Canada from all parties united in strong opposition, seeing Trump's words as a direct threat to their country's independence. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh took it a step further, calling for a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles, a jab at Trump's ally, Elon Musk. Singh also pushed for a rebate program to boost Canada's electric vehicle industry and reduce reliance on U.S. imports. Meanwhile, Stéphane Dion, Canada's ambassador to France, shot back, saying if Canada wasn't a viable country, show him a better one, slamming Trump's remarks as disrespectful to international norms. Canada isn't backing down. Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne recently made it clear that Canada's steel and aluminum are essential to U.S. industries, particularly defense, shipbuilding, and auto manufacturing. These materials, he emphasized, are crucial for keeping American industries running, and Canada will keep fighting for its workers and businesses. Catherine Cobden, head of the Canadian Steel Producers Association, didn't hold back either. She warned that Trump's proposed 25% tariffs would devastate both U.S. and Canadian industries. If no exemption is granted, she urged immediate retaliation. It's unfair and unjustified, Cobden said. We can't just sit back. We need to hit back. But this conflict isn't just about trade. It's spilling into national security issues. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is pushing for a tougher approach, not only against tariffs, but also to strengthen Canada's northern defenses. His plan includes building an Arctic military base, increasing Inuit rangers, and acquiring more polar icebreakers funded by slashing foreign aid. Pierre Poilievre is making waves with his bold stance on national defense and trade. He's targeting what he calls wasteful grants, stressing that defense should be the top priority, especially with Russia's growing presence in the Arctic. Poilievre didn't hold back on Trump's trade policies, promising that as Prime Minister, Canada wouldn't just complain, it would hit back. I'd slap the same tariffs on American steel and aluminum, he declared, adding that all revenue would go straight into Canada's steel and aluminum industries. Plus, any extra money could go toward cutting taxes for businesses and consumers. Ontario Premier Doug Ford also spoke up, calling the tariffs unjust and illegal. If they push us, we'll push back, Ford warned. He envisions a stronger North American trade alliance, focusing on resources like minerals and oil instead of tariffs. And Europe's not staying silent. European Union President Ursula von der Leyen and French President Emmanuel Macron both warned they're ready to respond aggressively if the U.S. pushes forward with these tariffs. French President Emmanuel Macron didn't hold back when discussing Trump's tariff plans, saying, "I've done it before, and I'll do it again." He pointed out that the proposed tariffs wouldn't just hurt Europe. They'd drive up costs for American consumers too. Do Americans really want higher prices? He asked, suggesting the tariffs could backfire on those Trump claims to protect. Macron also questioned why the US was targeting Europe instead of focusing on bigger issues like China. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian echoed Macron's sentiments, reminding the public this isn't the first time the US has gone after European trade, referencing the 2018 standoff. Chancellor Olaf Scholz of Germany made it clear the EU is ready to act fast, warning the US that they can retaliate within an hour if needed. Trade wars between the US and the EU are about more than just steel and aluminum. They're strategic battles. In the past, Europe targeted US products with strong political ties, like bourbon whiskey and orange juice. If the US moves forward with tariffs, Europe's counterattack could be even more damaging. The European Union is upping the ante with its new anti-coercion tool, giving Brussels a whole arsenal of options beyond just tariffs. One of the biggest threats? Shutting US companies out of Europe's massive public contracts market. American firms could suddenly find themselves barred from bidding on major infrastructure and service projects across the EU, potentially losing billions in business. But it doesn't stop there. US service providers could face increased scrutiny, with everything from banking and insurance to tech and streaming platforms potentially getting hit. Imagine giants like Apple, Google, or Netflix running into new legal obstacles just to operate in Europe. Laws like the Digital Markets Act and Digital Services Act already give regulators the power to impose stricter rules and penalties, or even ban them outright. And it could get worse. The EU might revive the digital services tax, a potential tax on American tech companies that was shelved for a global deal. If the EU doesn't implement it, individual countries like France could take matters into their own hands, adding more pressure on US businesses. Beyond tech, the EU could tighten regulations on US pharma, agriculture, or chemicals. While the EU usually prefers diplomacy, these moves would force the US to reconsider its approach, especially with its trade relationships being increasingly diversified. Donald Trump is once again shaking up global trade, reigniting his push for heavy tariffs on steel and aluminum. This time, he's setting a 25% tariff on steel and a still unknown levy on aluminum. Unlike previous trade battles, Trump's not holding back. He's aiming at everyone, even close allies in Europe and North America. Trump's also advocating for a reciprocal tariff system, where the US matches any import taxes imposed by other countries. He's particularly focused on the EU's 10% tariff on cars, calling it unfair compared to the US's 2.5%. Critics quickly point out that the US already imposes a hefty 25% tariff on imported pickup trucks, a major segment of the auto industry. For countries like Canada, which supplies nearly 80% of America's aluminum, this move could hurt. Other countries like Brazil, Mexico, South Korea, and Vietnam are also in the crosshairs. Meanwhile, US manufacturers relying on these imports are bracing for higher costs. This isn't new. Back in 2018, Trump sparked a global trade war with similar tariffs. While it briefly boosted US steel production, the momentum faded as Chinese steel flooded the market. Biden took a more diplomatic approach, lifting tariffs in exchange for quotas with key allies like the EU, UK, and Japan. As Washington reignites its trade battles, Canada and the European Union are doubling down on their efforts to protect themselves. Their strategy? Strengthening their trade ties to reduce their reliance on the unpredictable US market. The heart of this plan is the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, which has been transforming trade between Canada and the EU since its provisional launch in 2017. With the US continuing to target Canadian exports, Canada sees this as the perfect time to expand trade with Europe, giving businesses more options beyond their traditional reliance on the US market. Canadian Trade Minister Mary Ng recently visited Brussels to push for deeper collaboration, aiming to make it easier for Canadian businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, to tap into the European market. However, there's still work to be done. In 2020, only 57% of eligible Canadian exporters were fully using the benefits of CETA. Many smaller businesses struggle with the complexities of international trade agreements. To help, Ottawa is offering financial aid and advisory programs like CanExport SMEs, which provides grants of up to $75,000 to help small businesses expand into European markets. By supporting these efforts, Canada hopes to reduce its vulnerability to U.S. trade disputes. When COVID-19 disrupted global trade, Canada had to quickly rethink how to help businesses expand internationally. With in-person trade missions off the table, the government shifted gears. Instead of traditional face-to-face meetings, they began backing virtual trade shows, digital marketing campaigns, and assisting businesses with the costs of adapting to new international regulations. The goal was clear: help Canadian companies, especially small ones, tap into new markets beyond the US-Europe. With its vast consumer base and demand for quality goods, quickly became a key focus. But trade is about more than just selling products. It's also about securing the materials that power industries of the future. Critical minerals like nickel, aluminum, and uranium are essential for technologies such as electric vehicles and solar panels. Canada is one of the top suppliers of these minerals, and the EU, with its ambitious clean energy goals, saw Canada as a vital, reliable partner. In 2021, they formed a strategic partnership focused on raw materials, and by early 2024, they were working even closer to reduce dependence on unstable regions. Canada's commitment to sustainable mining practices and support for Indigenous communities ensures a solid foundation for this collaboration. Canadian professionals like architects, engineers, and accountants often face roadblocks when trying to work in Europe. Under the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, both sides are working to make professional qualifications easier to recognize, starting with architects. This framework will eventually extend to other professions, helping skilled workers move more freely between Canada and Europe. It may seem like a small change, but the impact is huge. Easing the flow of talent between the two regions means more innovation, greater collaboration, and a stronger economy for both. With rising tensions with the US, Canada has more reason than ever to solidify its ties with the EU. Trump's trade threats, including a 25% tariff on Canadian goods, have increased concerns about Canada's reliance on the US. His offhand suggestion that Canada should become America's 51st state only fueled these worries. In response to US tariffs, Canada briefly imposed retaliatory duties before agreeing to a 30-day negotiation window. This situation underscores the importance of diversifying trade and securing long-term stability. Expanding Canada-EU trade isn't just an economic move. It's a step towards security and independence. The growing partnership will reduce reliance on the US and create opportunities in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, and digital services. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up